Yeah, as far
Yeah.
as I can see, no,
Mm.
no, they don't. They don't self-heat.
Mm.
I find stuffing batteries in trouser pockets is very effective and convenient.
Oh
Someone wrote.
dear.
So there you go. Back to the
Mm.
old days of putting Inspire batteries down your trousers.
Lovely,
The
lovely,
less
lovely.
the less we talk about that, the better.
Hello,
Hello, we're back again.
we are back,
It's
Alex.
been a while, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
It's been a minute, as they say.
It's
Not that
been a
it's been a
minute,
minute. It's been a couple of months.
couple of months.
Since has it been a month
I think probably
or a
weeks. I,
month?
I would put it at weeks, I think.
What, since we've been on the same video
Yes, since
together?
we did the last
Last
podcast,
podcast.
which was episode 20, wasn't it, of the first season?
Yeah, it was. It was. And I guess what we're going to kind of sort of try and do now is concentrate more on reviews.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're gonna. I mean, obviously, a lot of the audience out there will have seen me and seen my ugly mug and heard my voice on various end-to-end videos and whatnot, with a few more on the way. But yeah, us two having a chat on screen.
Yeah.
Winner.
100%. Yeah. And I think as you mentioned, Alex, we're going to move towards reviewing things because
Yeah.
the industry has so much kit, so much software, so much hardware, so many different products and things to use, and so many use cases as well. And sometimes it's not very clear what to use, what not to use, how to get the best results. So instead of talking about everything in the industry, maybe we're going to talk a little bit more about the products that make
Yeah.
our industry. So
Yeah. And why not? Why the hell not? And we're both in kind of hammer green-ish.
yes, I think if you go
We've
from
got to be
mine to yours, it's sort of
in between.
in between. Yeah.
Cool. So today's subject that we are talking about
Mhm.
is the Mavic 3 Enterprise versus DJI's brand spanking new flagship drone, it's not new, it's been out for a little while, which is the DJI M30.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have a bit of a punch up, aren't we?
We
Not
are going to have a
literally,
punch up. Yes.
not literally a
Yeah.
punch up,
The
but we're gonna have
drones
a
are going to
punch.
have a punch up, and we're just going to
Yeah, we're
score them
gonna
on that.
we're gonna watch them have a
Mm.
scrap.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to do today.
Mhm.
I know we've done one previously.
Mhm.
On the what was that on? That was on the Mavic 3 Enterprise
And the Phantom 4 Pro.
and the Phantom 4 Pro. That's
We'll,
right.
I think we should link that as well in case
Yeah,
people are interested in
we'll
that one.
chuck that up here somewhere
Mhm.
as a link.
Mhm.
So I guess we dive right into it.
Let's go for it.
Get those two scrapping.
Mhm.
So they're both Enterprise drones,
Yes.
which basically means they're good for inspection, mapping,
Search and rescue.
search and rescue.
Mhm.
So where do we start then? Where do we start with these two?
Um, okay. Well, it's interesting because I think with these enterprise drones, what DJI has done is that you've got your M3, M30, M300, and you add a zero and you add some form factors to them, some weight
You
to them,
do.
and it's sort of like
You do.
that kind of matches up. It's
You add
almost like
sizes. It's like
yeah,
a Russian doll, isn't it?
yeah,
You just open it. There's another one. There's
yeah,
another one. There's another one.
yeah. You lose a zero, you lose some of the takeoff mass, and so we could start with form factor, I guess.
Let's go form factors first. So M30.
Yeah.
She's quite a big girl.
Mm-hmm.
Not as big as the 300.
Mm-hmm.
Foldable, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the 300's foldable.
Yeah.
But that's only so you can get it in a case because it's so
Yeah.
goddamn big.
Yeah.
The M30 has more of a Mavic feel to it.
Yeah.
In fact, it's almost like a Mavic on steroids.
Yeah.
The M30.
Mm.
She is weighty-ish, weighing in at about 3.7 kilograms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But all in all, they've packed a lot in.
They have,
They've
yes.
packed a lot into that.
Yeah.
That form factor.
Yes.
Whereas the Mavic 3 Enterprise is also foldable. Obviously, the Mavic range has been around for quite a while now.
Yeah.
They all have the same look and the same feel to them. But they've obviously just, they've maybe, I think the Mavic 3s have slightly slimmer legs, arms, whatever you want to call them. Are they arms? I guess they're arms. I think they're slightly longer as well. Obviously, the overall look of the Mavic hasn't really changed. They have the same sort of form factor.
Yeah. And about a kilo takeoff mass.
Probably. Yeah, about 1 kilogram.
Yeah.
I mean, to define a winner between those two is quite difficult because they are different. They're a different aircraft between the two. I guess it all depends on your use case and what you need it for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true. But I suppose with all things being equal, I would still put the M3 being more manageable or portable. If the form factor was more portability, if you were looking at the form factor from portability point of view,
then it would be the M3E all day long.
Then it would be the M3E, yeah.
It comes in a smaller box. It's foldable. It's about the size of a water bottle. Yeah. Really, when you look at it. And if you want to put it in your bag, not that I'd recommend it, you could literally just pop it in your bag.
Chuck it in, yeah.
Try fitting an M30 in your bag.
Yeah. Still too big.
It's still too big, unless you've got a suitcase.
Yeah.
So I would say, winner, M3E.
M3E. And we're going to have the cha-ching and the music and all that.
We are cha-ching, bing, woo, and there's going to be all that stuff. We'll let that in afterwards.
Yeah.
So I guess we move on from there to sort of temperature tolerances, I guess. Depending on where you fly. Obviously the UK suffers with extreme not extreme cold, but in the winter it does get very cold. But there'll be days where you're still you're able to go out and fly. It's not windy, it's not raining, it's just -5 or -3 or whatever. So which out of these two is going to cope with it? I give you the answer, both of them will. But when you're talking about other countries where you may want to fly and it's proper cold, really cold, we'll give the tolerances out. So the M30 will go down to -20 degrees C, which is cold. Really cold. Right up to 50 degrees C, which is like the desert.
Yes.
So there's a massive, there's a huge operating range. Available. So I would pretty much say that thing is operable anywhere.
Pretty much anywhere.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. And the M3 is it's got a wide range as well. But it's just that it's not as huge a range as the M30. So the M3 goes from -10 degrees Celsius, important to say Celsius for our American listeners.
Yes.
To 40 degrees Celsius. So it means that it can tolerate some amount of cold and some amount of heat, but not as high as the M30. So it's about 10 degrees Celsius difference on each end.
We must say, like they say with car manufacturers, these are manufacturers' guidelines.
Yes, true. Yeah. We have not tested them internally at those temperatures.
No, we don't have access to those temperatures. I certainly sometimes wish I had access to 40 degrees.
Yes.
Maybe not 50, but definitely 40.
Well, it's just a trip to Spain, isn't it?
It's a quick hop on a plane to Spain. So out of those two, I mean, if you're looking at temperature tolerances, it's the M30, but there's really not a lot in it. And if you think of the grand scheme of things, they're both very operable in all temperature conditions.
Brilliant. So that one we give to M30.
M30. M30 is the winner on that. Bing.
Brilliant. There we go.
All that gubbins.
Okay. So then moving on to something like emergency landing.
Yep.
So obviously, safety is really important in our industry, and even though it happens very rarely, but when it does happen, it can be disastrous, which is, you could lose a prop, or you could lose, you could have your drone hit something, and you could. So
every ops worst nightmare is losing a prop.
Yeah.
It wasn't so bad on the big old Hex and octocopters, because they would land on less props.
Yeah.
Some of them would toilet bowl, but that's when the drone goes toilet bowl. But you'd still be able to land it as long as you're in a decent enough space. But sorry, throw that over there. My phone was buzzing, so it can live at the other side of the room. The good thing about the M30 is, and I've really only just learnt this, is that you can actually land it on 3 props. Being a quadcopter, you wouldn't expect it. But according to DJI's specification, you can land that on 3 props.
How does it do that?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to try it, that's for sure.
Does it spin on its axes, or
do you know what? I don't know. I'd have to do a bit of research. Maybe if I do a bit of research and I can find a YouTube video that shows it, if anyone's dared to actually do it, maybe we can kind of attach it here somewhere.
Okay.
I'm intrigued to find out.
Yes.
I remember the old Inspire 2. If the camera, because the camera had a lot of rotation on it, but wouldn't rotate all the way.
Right.
So what it'd do is the camera would rotate all the way round. And when it got to its lock point, the drone would spin round it to bring it back. Now I know that could be done. So maybe it's the same mechanism. Sort of theory with the M30.
All right. Well, if you find a video, we're going to link it.
I will. I'll have a look. I'll have a look. I'm intrigued. Which brings us to the M3E. As far as I know, and I can't find any information on it, you cannot land on 3 props.
Right. Yes.
You lose a prop, you got some skills to get that bad boy back on the floor. Else it's going back on the floor by itself.
Arguably, it's a smaller drone. At least 3 times smaller based on weight. So you could sort of say that the extent of damage depends on what it hits. It's going to be smaller, but still, it doesn't have that capability. So it just makes it, in those extremely rare but possible scenarios, less safe. If
it happens, folks, try and pop it in a bush,
right?
If you can, or a large mattress, or a foam pit, or anything that's not concrete.
That's it.
So definitely the winner, hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, is the M30 on that one. If it can land on 3 props, that's very impressive. I will find a video. I will try and prove it. But DJI say it can. So who am I to argue?
And how long do we think that these drones stay in the air then? So landing on 3 props is great. What about flight time?
Flight time. So obviously you've got 2 very similar looking rigs, but one's obviously a lot bigger than the other. So the M30 has a dual battery system that uses 2, because obviously it's quite a bulky aircraft. It's going to need more power to be able to give it its lift and its oomph through the sky. So the manufacturers, I'm going to say this because this is the manufacturer's recommended time, is 41 minutes of flight
M30.
time. But then obviously you've got to take into account, the wind, the temperature. We talked about temperature, but the colder it is, the more battery gets used, etc., etc. Those batteries are self-heating as well. For a quick takeoff. Gone are the days of putting the batteries in your Inspire 1 and it going, it's too cold. It's too cold. Having to put them in a battery heater. These things self-heat. So that's 41 minutes. The Mavic 3, being a smaller, lighter aircraft, their recommended time in the air is 46 minutes.
Right.
which is quite a long time, really.
Yeah, 3/4 of an hour. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
quite a long time, yeah.
you can get a good few missions done with that.
Yeah. And we've felt this, haven't we, in our in-house testing? We've always felt
Yeah.
like we've gotten a lot of missions done, and
Yeah.
the thing still got 70% battery. Like,
Yeah. I mean, comparing it with like the Mavic 2,
yeah,
which we fly a lot and I fly a lot, you kind of know where your limits are.
yeah,
With the M3, you kind of get to where your limit would have been with the M2, and you go, I
yeah,
can keep going.
yeah,
Let's get another one. Let's get another one done.
yeah.
So yeah,
So by thin margin, I would say
Mavic
M3.
3,
Yeah, there we go. Mavic 3E.
the
So
Mavic 3E.
that's it. So we have a winner for that one.
We do.
Moving on to
Excuse me.
camera quality.
Camera quality.
Mhm.
Yeah, indeed. So both units actually have multiple cameras.
Yes.
Which is a new one for the Mavic range.
Mhm.
Although actually, no, saying that the M2 had a dual camera, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
M2
Yeah.
Enterprise. So yeah, so the M30 has two cameras.
Yep.
Which is the 48 megapixel half-inch CMOS, so electronic shutter, with a zoom capability.
Right.
What is that zoom capability? Give me a second, and I will tell you what the digital zoom capability is. 200 times.
200x optical.
Yeah, and the optical is 5 to 16.
5 to 16. Right. Yeah. Wow. That is powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
I mean, the 200 times digital zoom, and it's enhanced digital as well. So that should mean that the clarity at 200 times should be still fairly pretty good.
Yeah. We'll see if we can find some videos of it 200x zoom and add it in.
Yeah.
With the M3E, we've got a 4/3 inch CMOS sensor, 20 megapixels, and the second camera is the half-inch telephoto lens. That's the zoom lens. At 12 megapixels. So those are the two cameras for the M3E. Important to say is that the M3 has also the M3T,
his
which
brother.
has the thermal brother.
Thermal brother.
Yeah. And that one has a half-inch 48 megapixel cameras, which is closer to the spec that you have on the M30.
Yep.
And obviously the M30's got its own thermal brother, which is the M30T.
The M30T.
Yes.
Indeed.
So 3 cameras on the thermal drones, and then the 2 cameras on the visual drones.
Yeah.
So really interesting what DJI has done, and I wonder if you're going to end up with 10 cameras on one drone.
Well, if you think about the amount of sensors on it as well, those are little cameras in their own right.
That's true. Yeah.
So there are many cameras on these drones.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to have an all-in-one integrated LiDAR, thermal, multispectral,
flying
visual,
camera.
One photo, take everything in one go. No. It's gonna be
2 props, one at the front, one at the back. like a Chinook.
Yeah. So who do we give the points to? Because
it's difficult, isn't it? Because I mean, I'd give it to the M30. But then are we including the M3T? I would draw. I'm going to draw on it.
Yeah, I think this one feels like a draw.
Yeah, because if you weigh up what we've already talked about,
yeah,
I know that we shouldn't do that and it should be on the camera spec only, but I think we should draw this one.
Yeah. Having said that, the M3 does have a better sensor in some sense, sensor size, if not,
and probably better glass, to be honest. When you think about it in the camera side of things, it's a Hasselblad. So, let's call it a draw.
Yeah, I think we could call it a draw. I think it really depends on the use case, though.
Yes, it does.
I can see this larger sensor size being useful in certain scenarios, overall pixels being lower. But yeah, this one's a draw. Let's go.
Yeah. Tie it up, draw.
Oof.
As they say.
Still staying on camera. What about the shutter speed?
Shutter speed. So the M30 is at 2 seconds, 2-second intervals, which is still pretty quick.
Yeah.
But not as quick as the M3E, which is 0.7 seconds.
Right. Yeah. That's fast.
That is quick. And again, being out in the field, we have noticed that.
Yes.
When we've been out sort of test mapping, and it goes up in the air, it does its thing, and then comes down within minutes, and we all just go, "Did that work?" Get the data back, and the data's all there. So it's a quick bit of kit.
It really is very quick.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to come to that in terms of why the use cases they're aimed at, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which probably kind of explains some of these properties. But shutter speed,
Mavic 3E. A massive pat on the back for the engineers at DJI for pulling that one off, because they've done a stellar job of that.
Yeah. So you can fly really fast and still take. I mean, the reason why it matters for someone listening that hasn't come across shutter speed is because if you want to fly fast and take photos and not miss the shots, you've got to have a really fast shutter speed. So you can fly fast, take photos very quickly, and make sure everything's captured and saved to the SD card. So
saves you time in the long run as well.
Yeah,
and freaks you out. You don't think you've done it properly, and you get back and you have. So the Mavic 3E all day long on that one.
Yeah. All right.
All day long. Oh, battery system. We've spoken a little bit about battery already.
Yes.
We'll mention it again. So the M30 has a dual battery system, which is hot swappable and self-heating. So ideal for those cold weather days.
There we go. Alongside the temperature tolerance.
Yeah, indeed. The Mavic 3E is just a single battery.
Right.
Single battery system. Don't think it self-heats either. I'd have to dig that one up. But
single battery, and but again, at the same time, if the importance to you is about carrying less batteries, then portability, all of those things. So,
and plus the fact that battery actually lasts longer than the dual battery system on the M30. And that's due to the weight of the aircraft, obviously. But if you just want to get out there, get your shots done, you've got those batteries are a lot smaller than the M30 batteries. They're not as heavy. They're not as bulky. You can chuck one in your pocket. You also keep it nice and warm.
And you also don't need the extra battery charging station, which you need for the M30, which is you've got that
old suitcase.
Another suitcase.
Yeah, it's another suitcase to lug around. So, I mean, we've got here battery system winner both. I would say
I think it depends on how much portability matters to you.
That's true. If you're driving around in a Land Rover, and you can just get on site and pull it all out the back or set it up on the tail, the tailgate. Happy days. So I suppose let's call it a draw. I mean, they're very different. They're kind of different purposes. So all right, we'll call it a draw.
I would say probably a small thin margin where the M3E is probably higher. Somewhat higher, I guess, because the two batteries on the M3 on the M30 don't give you more flight time. If they did, then it would be much more of a clear cut draw.
They just give the drone the ability to have the lift that it needs because of the weight. So what we saying, M3E winner?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, then I take back my draw.
Yeah, let's do M3E for this one.
M3E winner.
And the only one thing we might check after the video is the self-heating element and how much of that plays a role, because if you're flying in really adverse weather conditions, then maybe that gives the battery an edge.
Shall I have a quick look now?
Sure. Yeah.
Self-heating battery.
I'd be surprised because the M3 in general doesn't. I mean, its temperature tolerance is also lower, isn't it, than the M30? So that would be an interesting design choice.
Yeah, as far as I can see, no, they don't self-heat. I find stuffing batteries in trouser pockets is very effective and convenient. Someone wrote. So there you go. Back to the old days of putting Inspire batteries down your trousers.
Lovely,
The less we talk about that, the better.
Oh dear.
Okay,
Yeah.
winner M3E.
M3E. There we go.
Yeah.
Right. Staying on weather conditions. What about IP rating, weather tolerance? Because I think the M30 has a bit more in that corner. No,
it's totally more in that. The M30 is IP55 rated, which I think is one step down from the top. I think 65 is the top.
Right.
So it can fly in wet weather. It can handle dust and dirt quite happily.
Right.
Without any issues. I do believe the controller, I know we're talking about that later, is IP65 rated for the M30.
Right.
So all in all, it's an all-round kind of weather system.
Nice.
Whereas the poor old Mavic 3E, no IP rating.
Right.
Get that wet, you've had it.
Yeah.
Don't fly the M3 in the rain.
Yes. Just, keep it inside till the weather's good.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that one's an easy one then.
Yeah. I mean, it's M30.
M30.
It's IP rated.
Yep.
You know, you can fly it in adverse weather conditions.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Not that I would. I don't think the rain. I mean, great for search and rescue, and stuff like that. Awesome. You wouldn't want to be collecting data in the rain.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you get wet.
It's the use case, right? So if you're not capturing something that needs to be reconstructed or reproduced, and you're simply looking for missing people or things, then I think the M30. So it all depends on the use case, which is something we're going to come to as well.
Yes.
So okay. Then moving to the accuracy, or let's say RTK support for accuracy.
Okay.
Positioning accuracy.
RTK, real-time kinematic, for those that you don't know. We'll stuff some links in the bottom here about what RTK is all about. RTK is supported by both aircraft. The M30 has it built in. The M3, you have to buy an extra unit, which is like a little top hat that sits on top.
Yes.
Obviously, that is an additional cost. So, winner-wise, if you buy your Mavic 3E with the unit, with the RTK unit, which I know you can, there's nothing really in it. RTK is RTK. It either has it or it doesn't.
Yeah. So, both units support RTK. As you mentioned, you've got the somewhat modular RTK unit on top of the top hat that you can remove if needed. And bolt on a speaker instead. Or
lights.
Or lights, or all sorts
whatever
of things.
you want. Yeah.
I think it's probably relaxed to give it to both because you can get to draw. Yeah, you can get it from the other interesting question would be if one connects better than the other. We're still doing some experiments on that.
Yeah.
But so far from our testing, in terms of what they provide.
I know when we had the Mavic 3E, in fact, it was the T, I think. Not that it'll be any different. The RTK connection was rapid. Yeah. It was like, boom, like that. Done. Yeah. RTK connected. I know next week we have the M30 back in the house. So we'll be doing some RTK testing on that, no doubt.
Yeah. Right. Coming to the biggest thing that's probably different about the M30, then it's probably not, is it the biggest thing?
Oh yeah,
I'd say. Yeah.
Big being the operative word, Varun.
Yeah. So it's the remote controller.
Yeah. So the M30 remote controller is a godsend for drone operators worldwide. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's got a massive screen on it. Yeah. You can see what you're doing. Yeah. Full touch screen, programmable buttons all the way down the side. The
Yeah.
feel it feels fantastic.
Yeah.
You've got lots of options at the top for things like USB-C, HDMI, SD cards. I think there's some other programmable bits on it as well. It's just all round. It's the best controller that DJI have ever released.
Yeah, I agree. It's so good.
Stunning.
It's nice to have that big screen to see your maps, to see your flight plans, to see the drone's position, to see all the stuff you need to see, even the video. And it's just, you know, when DJI released their smart enterprise controllers, initially it felt like, yeah, they've got a nice controller which is powerful, but they've taken away the screen, you know.
They were having a go. They kind of, it was, you know, it was a start. This thing is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that I think it's either come out already or is on the way. There'll be a firmware update, so you can use that controller on the 300 as well. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So this one is quite easy.
I mean the M3, obviously the M3 controller is your bog standard. I say bog standard. They haven't been around for that long. It's still fully integrated Android-based OS, the same as the M30's controller. The screen's a lot smaller, controller's a lot smaller. You can't really see what you're doing. It's all a bit fiddly. So hands down, winner M30. That controller is something else. Yeah.
Agreed. So, and going from the controller, what about so let's have a look at use cases, because I think we've gone through quite a few properties of both of these drones and what they have to offer. And I think based on what they offer, you can kind of see which use cases they're most suitable for. So the M30, because it's built for so much. It's built for adverse weather, all sorts of different conditions, self-heating batteries, and all sorts of, you've got the remote controller with bigger screen. You can kind of tell that with the 200x digital zoom, you can tell all of those things are really important for search and rescue, and closely followed by inspections. So those would be the main use cases. Not to say you can't use it for other use cases, but every drone has sort of some use cases which they have been built around in terms of using them as the sort of basis of the design.
It's a robust bit of kit that is probably better suited to the emergency services and search and rescue. That's not to say that you wouldn't use it for inspection and mapping, because the picture, the camera quality is pretty good. But on the flip side, you've got wind resistance as well. I don't know, have we talked about wind resistance? I don't think we have we?
No, I guess we could take that into account when we look at form factor.
The wind resistance for the M30 is something like 32 miles an hour, I think, thereabouts. Whereas the Mavic 3 will be considerably lower because it's a smaller unit. So if you do want to go out and do inspections and mapping and the wind's quite high, you still can with the M30. It's not going to take a battering, whereas the M3 would. But I think all round, for enterprise purposes like mapping and inspection and facade inspection and 3D mapping, I think you can't go wrong with the M3E. Really.
So M3E, you've got, I think, the main selling points about the M3 is the fact you've got your global mechanical shutter with a 0.7 second shutter interval, making it really fast with 46-minute flight time. I think all of those things, if you're doing large mapping areas, really you want to fly them fast and you want to get high quality data. I think M3, and also its integrations with RTK and it being very quick to connect and all of that, it is a mapping drone at the end of the day. And I think in our last video we have compared it with the Phantom 4 Pro because it's sort of the Phantom 4 Pro killer in some sense.
It's the natural successor to the Phantom 4 Pro. And it is designed for for mapping, 3D mapping, facade inspection, that's what it's there for. That's why DJI released it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the Mavic 3 for a lot of the mapping first inspection use cases, and then M30 for the inspection and search and rescue use cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just more tailored towards those. You can't. It's okay if you use one for the other. You can still get pretty decent results, but there's just one natural, what's the word, preference for the drone. As a preference, they have a natural preference to do one job over the other, but you can you could get them to do something else. So I think that's
Mavic 3E.
Yeah, that's Mavic 3. I mean, use cases. Do you give it really? I mean, we can't really.
Not really, because there's they're kind of used for different things, and you can use them for both.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go and do search and rescue with a Mavic 3E, you could. You just have to be a fair weather search and rescue.
Yes.
You can do it in the rain or the howling wind.
Yeah.
Whereas you could with the M30. So yeah, it's kind of unfair to pit them against each other. So we'll call that a
draw.
A draw. Yeah, we'll go draw on that.
Yeah. They've got their own strengths for use.
They have.
What about flyability?
Yeah, well, this is my forte. I mean, I've flown both, and I must say I completely and totally fell in love with the M30.
Right. Okay.
I really did. I was expecting it to fly like a lumbering whale, like the M300 does.
Yeah. It
just didn't at all.
Right.
It's got no trailing legs like the M300. Those legs are permanently down.
Yeah.
It has it's hard to describe really. It's got the feels of an M300.
Yes.
So you're up there and it's got a presence like the M300 has.
Yes.
It's not as noisy as the M300. That sounds like a whole bunch of angry bees coming at you. So it's got the presence of the M300, but it flies like a Mavic.
Right.
So again, the engineers at DJI have they tick the boxes for me on that one. It's I really like it.
Yeah.
I really like it as an aircraft. It's not to say I don't like the M3 because I do. I think initially there were a few complaints that the M3 was a bit twitchy and a bit aggressive. That can be toned down in DJI software. It can be adjusted, so you can bring it down a notch and make it a bit more like flying the M2, which I know a lot of people liked flying the M2.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one. I'm not going to give it to either of them because they're both, the M30 is brand spanking new. The M3's been around for a little while.
Yeah.
They're very different to fly.
Yeah.
The M30 just feels like flying a big Mavic. Like someone's got a foot pump and pumped a Mavic up. So there you go, fly that. That's Mavic how that feels.
Steroids,
so, yeah, totally. So I can't really give it to either of them. They're very different to fly, but both of them fly fantastically.
Right. Okay. We'll call it a draw then.
Call it a draw, without a doubt.
Yeah. Right. What about software supports?
Well, the mighty hammer missions, that is us. We support both. I mean, we're still working on the M30.
Yeah.
But we have
we've got it out in beta now. So that's
our initial tests have been absolutely awesome. I've been out and flown it with hammer missions, and it's it does what it says on the tin. It works. As does the M3E. It's supported on both.
Yeah. You can process the data from both as well.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't look any different on either drone because it's obviously behind the Android system.
Yeah.
So again, a draw.
Yeah.
Draw.
Yeah. And in terms of ongoing support, DJI is supporting both drones at the moment because they're both fairly new.
Yeah, I mean, M30 is a flagship. That's not gonna go away in a hurry. And M3, the M3 hasn't been around for that long, and they've just released an M3 Spectral as well.
Yeah.
So Mavic 3 is not going away, not in a hurry.
Yeah.
So DJI will continue to update those.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if the RC Plus controller from the M30 makes its way not just to the M300 but also to other enterprise drones like the M3 and
That would make me very excited.
yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it's such a great controller.
Yeah. What about pricing?
So pricing, obviously, there's going to be a fair variation in price because the M30 is a monster. So the M30, you're looking at about £8,000, which is about $10,000. And the Mavic 3E, you're looking at kind of £3,000 ish, which is about $4,000 dollars thereabouts. You know, the clear winner there is obviously the M3 because it's cheaper. But then again, it all depends what you want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if the M3 checks all the boxes for you, then obviously it's a winner. But then if you have adverse weather conditions to fly in, or you just love the feel of flying the M30 or the remote controller, then you've got the M30 as the winner. So it's a bit of a challenging one, but I think purely on the basis of cost, I think we could give this one to M3.
Yeah. I mean, if money was no object, M30 all day long. But if you're on a budget, cost wise, the M3E, they're both great. You know, they are both great aircraft. I've got exceedingly geeky about the M30. I can't wait to fly one again, to be honest. I love it. It's brilliant.
So recommendations, what do we recommend people to do in terms of what?
So we've got a brand new drone buying guide coming out with we're putting out a free spreadsheet with that as well, so you can figure out for yourself what drone suits your use case best. That shall be coming out shortly, which we shall link in the post below in the comments section. And of course, the other drone to consider in all of this is the big brother of them all, the daddy, which is the M300.
Yes.
The flying whale.
Yes, the flying whale. Do not forget the whale. It's always there.
Yeah, don't forget the whale. Where's the whale in the room?
Yeah. And it's got you've got a lot more freedom with respect to payloads when it comes to the M300.
You have.
So you can choose your cameras. And just a quick point about the drone buying guide that you just mentioned. So we're finding this quite a lot, even though we're a software provider. A lot of our customers come to us and sometimes we feel that they've actually made the wrong choice in terms of the drone they've purchased for the use case they're going after and the application they're going after. So I think what we're trying to do is actually come up with a framework or a decision process that people should use, or an approach that people should use to look at drones. So I know that there's a lot of specs in our industry, 45-minute flight time and self-heating batteries and the thing is people get swayed away by the specs really easily. But it's important to look at your use case, your specific sort of constraints, and then come up with an approach and a framework to buy the right drone.
I mean, of course, DJI are going to want you to spend as much money as possible, but that's, at the end of the day, you have to look at the benefits of the aircraft that you are choosing to purchase. And if those benefits outweigh the extortionate price, why not go for the cheaper aircraft?
Yeah, it's cost versus value. Yeah,
indeed it is.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Okay, so I think we went through quite a few topics over here.
Indeed, and we will come to who the winner is when we have tallied it up. Yes, it will be probably right about now on the video.
There we go.
I'll see if I can do that and get it in here in this bit.
Congratulations, M3T.
M3T.
I don't know. I don't know which one's the winner because I haven't kept a tally.
I haven't kept a tally either. But we'll fathom it out, and the result will be here.
Yes, it'll be there.
It'll be there. I'm going to see if I can get our designer to do that.
Yeah. More like there, I think. There
or here.
Yeah, here. Yeah, that's it.
There.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, because my camera's backwards, it's
hard
to define where it is. So there you go. That was our punch up between the Mavic 3E and the M30.
There we go.
So hope you lot have enjoyed the video. Obviously, you can subscribe to our awesome YouTube channel, where we have many videos coming out. Or have already come out, and we'll have many more coming out. If you've got any queries, feel free to email us at team@hammermissions.com. And there you go.
That's it.
Cool.
Brilliant. All right.
Fantastic. Well, I shall catch up with you again soon. Undoubtedly, we'll have another punch-up video at some point.
Yeah, we will do, Alex. Yep.
And maybe next time it'll be the 30T versus the 3T.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe we're going to go towards the Thermal Brothers.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what comes. We'll see what happens. Or the 300 versus the 30.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, do that. Do that one. Cool. All right,
brilliant. All right. Thanks, Alex.
No worries. I shall catch you soon.
Catch you later.
All the best. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.